Hey guys, witam was serdecznie. I hope you're all doing amazing today. I'm Mysticle, and I'll be bringing you the latest in AR and VR news. We're trying the mic off axis today, as I've had some audio engineers reach out in the comment section and tell me this is what we should do. And just before this video begins, I actually have some news from a new partner that I am super excited about. Those of you that have been with the channel for a while probably know about how much I enjoy my CNICK smart ring, which is why I was so upset when my wooden ring finally gave way. So I reached out to CNICK, and not only did they send me a replacement titanium ring, but they also are giving you guys a discount. So let me tell you a bit about it. First of all, the most important part for me, personally, you do not have to charge this thing, because nobody wants to be taking off a ring to charge it, and I wouldn't remember to do that anyway. I barely remember to charge my smartwatch. Second of all, this thing has all the NFC security you need in order to not just make it a car key per se, but you can also use it with smart locks for buildings, and you can bind your debit card to it. That, and as a nice little bonus, you can even assign a website to it, meaning that if you scan it on a mobile phone like this, it can open up any link that you bind to it. It's waterproof, so you don't need to worry about taking it off and putting it back on again when you're having a wash or going swimming. They've got multiple design styles to suit just about anyone, and I have a video coming up on this very, very soon, but that's where I'm going to leave it for this integration. In case you're interested, make sure to check out that link down below. So, as usual, you guys have chapters down below to skip to any specific part that you are most interested in, and with that being said, let's get right into the video. And we're gonna begin with the sad news, just so that we can later on build it up a bit. As Kluge Interactive, the studio behind Synth Riders, has confirmed major layoffs. And I mean major. The team has gone from 100 people down to 50. Cut in half across 2 rounds, in December and in January. This came to light when XR analyst, sadly it's Bradley, posted on X that Kluge has quietly undergone a significant staff reduction, citing Meta ending VR support for Horizon Worlds as a contributing factor. Apparently Kluge was funded to build games within Horizon Worlds. Kluge CEO Arturo Perez then confirmed the cuts directly, saying the studio is currently a team of 50, down from a peak of 100, and that Synth Riders remain steady, but not enough to support the full studio they once had. To be clear, he did not confirm or deny that the Horizon World situation is what caused any of this, but the timing and context is hard to ignore. And look, this is becoming a serious pattern. 2 weeks ago, we talked about Rec Room shutting down entirely. Last week, Polyarch losing 2/3 of their staff. Now Kluge has been cut in half. These aren't isolated incidents anymore. This is a sustained contraction happening across quite a bit of VR development. And it's not some abstract industry trend. These are real teams, real developers, people who genuinely believe in this medium enough to build their careers around it. That is absolutely terrible. Synth Riders is still alive, which is good, but I do hope that the 50 remaining employees are in a stable enough condition to keep going. I would absolutely hate to lose another fantastic title from virtual reality. Okay, with that out of the way, let's move on to something a bit more positive, and something Quest users have honestly been waiting for quite a while, as the Horizon OS Navigator is finally apparently rolling out to all users. This took a very long time. When was this supposed? I don't even remember when this was supposed to roll out. If you haven't seen it yet, Navigator is essentially a complete redesign of the Quest universal menu. Navigator brings your apps, people, and system controls all together in a unified place. You either love it or hate it. There's also a built-in walkthrough that guides you through the new layout when it first appears, which is a nice touch. The reception from the community has been very, very mixed on this one. As I mentioned, some people love it, some people hate it. Having everything in one place does feel more polished and modern, but there's also legit complaints. Some users are saying the time and quick bar are harder to find. The room darkening effect when you open it is annoying. I thought you could turn that off. And if you jump to your browser mid-game, getting back to your app is now a few more steps than it used to be. That is a big one. Very, very annoying. I actually had issues getting back to my app the first time I launched Navigator. But my take? Change is usually jarring at first. And if this makes new users' experiences better than the old universal menu, I'm all for it. Just fix the few annoying things that have appeared. A universal place for all your apps and all your socials is usually a good thing, makes the whole ecosystem feel more refined and well put together. But whether this execution actually sticks the landing is something we'll get to see only once more people get to live with it. On to Galaxy XR, or Android XR, as that just received a brand new substantial software update. And there's quite a bit worth covering here. The headline feature for enterprise users is the addition of Android Enterprise support. That means Galaxy XR now has built-in MDM tools, zero-touch enrollment, QR and DPC provisioning, basically all the things IT departments actually need in order to deploy this thing at scale in a workplace. Hardware level security, compliance tools, the works. This positions it much more seriously as a device for businesses rather than just early adopters. But there are some genuinely cool and exciting features here for consumers as well. The update brings auto spatialization to Chrome and YouTube, so it can automatically convert 2D videos and content into immersive 3D experiences. This was already available for Google Photos, but expanding it to Chrome and YouTube is a much bigger deal for everyday use. There is also customizable virtual keyboard positioning, desktop session restore for up to 3 apps after a reboot, improved spatial alignment of on-screen content, and expanded accessibility options, including single eye tracking support. And perhaps the most reassuring line in the whole announcement, Android XR will now receive regular software updates, including security patches, for up to 5 years. That's a real commitment signal for anyone considering spending $1,800 on a headset. The Samsung Galaxy XR is still the only fully featured Android XR headset on the market, and it's clearly being actively developed. This update makes it feel a whole lot more finished, and like an enterprise-ready product. Now, this one is quite a bit more nuanced, but still absolutely worth talking about, as Meta and Unity have announced that they are extending their multi-year partnership, reaffirming Unity's role as a primary development platform for Meta's VR devices. For context, Unity has actually been the dominant game development engine in virtual reality for years. The vast majority of top-selling Quest games are built in Unity, not Unreal. The partnership goes all the way back to the early Oculus Rift days, and now they're formally extending it. Unity COO Alex Blum said that great content is what makes VR successful, and that Unity powers the majority of Meta's top-selling titles. Meta's VP of VR, Ryan Cairns, says it makes it easier for developers to bring high-quality experiences to Meta's devices. Now, what does this actually mean in practice? Probably some amount of money changing hands so Unity continues building and maintaining VR-specific tooling, cross-platform pipelines, stereo rendering support, and so on. Neither company got specific. Here's the interesting context. Meta has been cutting its consumer VR gaming ambitions in a pretty significant way, shutting internal studios, canceling games, shifting Reality Labs towards AI and smart glasses, so the fact that they're actively extending their partnership with the most important engine in the VR ecosystem is a mild but real signal that consumer VR is not completely abandoned, as some people think it is in the comments section. It's absolutely not dead. It's just smaller than it was. And apparently Unity is still a part of whatever the future looks like. Now here is one that I think is going to be quite big, as Snap's new XR subsidiary, Specs Inc., which was spun off from Snap back in January specifically to handle their XR efforts, has announced a long-term strategic partnership with Qualcomm, the main provider of chips for XR devices, including all Meta headsets. Snapdragon chips are confirmed for future generations of Snap's AR glasses, and both companies have reaffirmed that the next generation specs are coming later this year. That would technically be Snap's 6th generation of spectacles, and it's the first one actually aimed at consumers. Previous generations were developer-focused. This time, they're going for the mass market. And the timing is interesting, given that Meta, Samsung, Google, and Apple are all pushing hard in the smart and AR glasses space right now. So here's what we know about the device so far. Smaller and lighter than previous spectacles, see-through AR optics, Snapdragon XR SoC inside, and a heavy focus on on-device AI. As if that was going to be surprising to absolutely anyone. Qualcomm CEO Cristiano Amon talked about devices that understand what you see, hear, and say, agentic experiences that respond to the world around you. That's pretty much the same pitch Meta is making with Meta Ray-Ban, but with actual AR optics rather than just cameras. We haven't seen the actual device yet, and most of the actual specs are still unknown, but the Qualcomm partnership is a strong signal that this is real and on track. The AR glasses race is genuinely heating up, and 2026 is shaping up to be the year where it truly becomes competitive. Let's move on to some exciting news for gamers. Well, actually, I don't know how much gamers bought the Apple Vision Pro to game on it, but Steam Link is coming to the Apple Vision Pro. Pretty crazy considering the headset, when it launched, didn't even have controllers. But now that it does, I guess it makes perfect sense. As Valve has released a native Steam Link app for Vision OS. Available right now through Test Flight, this lets Apple Vision Pro users stream and play games from their PC over Wi-Fi, up to 4K resolution with improved network performance and the ability to adjust the curve of the display in panoramic mode. The catch, and it's a notable one, VR games are not supported yet. This is a flat screen streaming only option for now. If and when VR support actually lands, you'll also need a pair of compatible VR motion controllers, like the PlayStation VR 2 controllers, which can pair with the Vision Pro, by the way. Steam Link already works on a variety of different headsets, and interestingly, some Galaxy XR users have also found an unofficial way to sideload Steam Link onto Android XR, which wasn't even an official thing. For the Vision Pro owners who are also PC gamers, which is a pretty specific Venn diagram, this is actually a nice to have. For the rest, it's more of an infrastructure move rather than a consumer moment. So now, let's end on a fairly exciting piece of news. A mixed reality game based on Project Hail Mary is in development and coming to Quest and Pico headsets later this year. If you haven't seen the film yet or read the book, I'd highly recommend both. The game is called Project Hail Mary: Journey Among the Stars, and it's being developed by Maze Theory, the studio behind Peaky Blinders, The King's Ransom, and Doctor Who: Edge of Time. It's a partnership with Amazon MGM Studios, and Andy Weir himself collaborated on an entire original chapter written specifically for the game. You play as Ryland Grace, the main character, at an untold moment in the mission. The ship's systems are failing, deep space is getting dangerous, and you have to diagnose problems and improvise fixes. It's mixed reality, so the game's environment bleeds into your physical space, which sounds genuinely immersive for this kind of story. And Rocky, the alien character, who is basically the heart of the whole story, is in it. The studio described the bond between the player and Rocky as something you build yourself through cooperation and evolving rather than just watching it happen on screen. That's exactly the kind of thing mixed reality can do, but other mediums can't. This launches on Quest and Pico in late 2026, with hints that more platforms could be added. More details on gameplay and pre-orders should be coming in the following months. I'll let you guys know more details as they come around. Either way though, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, wherever you are in the world. And if you like this one, please do leave a like. If you disliked it, I guess this button works too. But let me know why down below. If you're not yet part of our community, check out our Discord and our Reddit, where I want to see you posting your spice memes. And thank you so much to all the Patrons and members supporting this channel. You guys are amazing. Seriously, much love. You are what makes these continued videos possible, and we actually have a few new Patreons on the scene, so I want to welcome you guys and thank you as well. And as usual, if you like this one, and as usual, if you want to be notified about future content coming up on the channel, make sure to smack the subscribe button with your forehead, ding my bell, and see you again in the next video. Peace.